Imagine this. You are a general, standing on a windswept hill at dawn. Below you, in the mist-shrouded valley, two armies are poised to clash. 10,000 men on your side, 10,000 on the other. The air is thick with the promise of blood and steel. For months, you've planned for this day. You've drilled your soldiers, stockpiled your resources, and memorized the terrain. You believe victory is a matter of having the sharper swords and the stronger will. You are about to give the order to charge, to meet force with overwhelming force, when a single chilling thought paralyzes you. What if everything you believe about conflict is wrong? This is the precipice Sun Tzu invites you to stand upon in the art of war. The unspoken rules of every conflict. The book is not a manual for battle. It is a mirror held up to the very nature of struggle itself. And in its reflection, we find the central, haunting paradox. The greatest victories are not won by those who excel at fighting, but by those who master the art of making battle unnecessary. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Let that contradiction sink in. How can you win a war without waging it? How can you conquer an opponent without ever crossing swords? This is the silent, elegant mystery that lies at the heart of this ancient text. It whispers that our primal instinct to meet aggression with greater aggression is often the very thing that guarantees our downfall. We are taught to see conflict as a test of strength, a binary game of win or lose. But what if conflict is a game of perception, of maneuver, of shaping the reality your opponent perceives before the first arrow is ever fired? What if the true battlefield is not the valley below, but the mind of the opposing general? You felt this tension, this paradox in your own life, not on a field of war, but in the boardroom negotiation that feels like a stalemate, in the escalating argument with a loved one, where louder voices only build higher walls, in the silent, grinding competition for a promotion you know you deserve. You prepare for a direct assault. You arm yourself with facts and fury, and yet you find yourself exhausted, wounded, and no closer to your objective. You are the general on the hill, ready to charge, sensing deep in your bones that there must be a better way, a hidden current beneath the turbulent surface. This book is the key to that locked door in your mind. It does not offer you a sharper sword. It offers you a different set of eyes. It promises to reveal the unspoken architecture of every conflict, the hidden rules that govern all forms of human contention. It poses a question that will linger with you, a ghost in your strategic machine. What if you could see the end of the fight in its very beginning? What if you could discern the shape of victory long before the first move is made? The answer does not lie in becoming more brutal, but in becoming more profound. The valley awaits your decision. Do you give the order to charge, or do you, at last, begin to truly see? If these unspoken rules are reshaping your view of conflict, subscribe to ensure you don't miss the next layer of strategic depth. So, what is the root of this failure? Why do we, like that general, so often default to the brute force collision? Sun Tzu's diagnosis is as precise as it is devastating. The hidden problem is not a lack of courage or resources. It is a fundamental blindness. It is the failure to perceive the she, the inherent strategic disposition of the world at any given moment. You are fighting the enemy in front of you, but you are blind to the terrain, the weather, the morale of your own troops, and the psychology of your opponent. You are deaf to the silent, shaping forces that have already determined the outcome. You believe conflict is about action. Sun Tzu reveals it is about perception. The greatest flaw, the fatal human flaw he exposes, is our addiction to the tangible, the sword, the wall, the shouted insult, the signed contract. We focus on the substance of our force while remaining ignorant of the context in which it is applied. This is why the strong and aggressive so often fall to the patient and aware. The book forces you to confront a terrifying truth. You have been trying to solve a complex, multi-dimensional puzzle by hammering it with a rock. You are attempting to win a game of chess by only looking at your own pieces. This blindness manifests everywhere in your life. It's in the manager who tries to command loyalty through authority and threats, completely blind to the simmering resentment and quiet attrition, destroying their team from within, the true terrain of the conflict. It's in the person who enters a relationship argument armed only with a list of grievances, oblivious to the unspoken fears and unvalidated emotions that form the actual battlefield. You are reacting to the symptom, the opposing army, the raised voice, while the disease, the misalignment of strategic realities, spreads unchecked. Sun Tzu's concepts are not just military. They are profoundly psychological and philosophical. He is the ultimate Stoic strategist, teaching you to distinguish between what you can control and what you cannot, and to use that distinction to bend reality to your will. He connects to the Jungian shadow, forcing you to acknowledge your own biases, your own pride, your own desperation, which cloud your judgment more than any enemy's deception ever could. Your greatest adversary is not across the field. It is the part of you that craves the catharsis of a fight over the quiet satisfaction of a victory secured without one. The consequence of ignoring this diagnosis is a life of exhausting, Pyrrhic victories and bewildering defeats. You will win battles, but lose wars. You will secure promotions in offices that have become toxic to you. You will win arguments in houses that have grown cold. You will expend all your energy, all your resources, and all your spirit, only to find yourself standing on a ravaged field, wondering why the prize feels like ashes. The problem is not that you are weak. The problem is that you are not seeing. And until you learn to see, you are merely a participant in a conflict whose rules you do not understand, destined to be a pawn in a game you think you are playing. The battle for perception is ongoing. Like this video to let us know you're arming yourself with these insights, and subscribe for the next tactical installment. So what happens when this blindness, this addiction to the direct clash, goes uncorrected? The consequences, as Sun Tzu maps them, are not merely lost battles. They are ravaged lands, bankrupt treasuries, and a deep systemic exhaustion that cripples nations and souls alike. He writes, "There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. This is the ultimate, chilling implication. A world shaped by the unspoken rules of conflict, but ignorant of them, is a world perpetually consuming itself. You believe you are fighting for survival, for advantage, for glory, but you are actually participating in a slow-motion suicide. The book forces you to see the invisible cost of every head-on confrontation. The army that marches 100 miles to meet its enemy is not just an army. It is a drain on the peasantry who must supply it, a vacuum in the homeland it leaves undefended, a beacon for rival states to see its stretched supply lines and weakened capital. This is the true, multi-layered reality of conflict that most never see. In your life, this manifests as the promotion won through relentless hours and political maneuvering that costs you your health and your family's trust. It is the business rival you crush, only to find the market has shifted and you've expended all your capital fighting a ghost. You are the state, bankrupting its future for a present-day victory that has no lasting value. Sun Tzu uses the metaphor of the unassailable fortress. The commander who focuses only on the strength of his walls is blind. He fails to see that his imposing defense is also a cage. It tethers his army, projects fear instead of confidence, and invites siege and starvation. What are the unassailable fortresses in your own life? The rigid beliefs you defend so fiercely, they prevent you from learning? The secure job that has become a prison for your spirit? The relationship dynamics so entrenched it allows for no new growth? You are inside those walls, believing yourself safe, while the real conflict, the conflict of stagnation and missed opportunity, is slowly starving you. The stakes are not just personal, they are existential. To ignore these rules is to be like a sailor who fights the storm instead of reading it. You exhaust yourself battling the waves, never realizing you could have adjusted your sails and let the wind carry you. You are fighting the symptoms of the conflict, the opposing force, the disagreement, the competition, while the underlying currents of power, morale, timing, and terrain decide your fate without your input. You are left breathless, battered, and adrift, wondering why your sheer effort wasn't enough. The consequence is a life lived as a reaction, a series of emergencies, where you are perpetually off balance, responding to the last crisis while the next one gathers force just beyond your limited field of vision. You are winning the skirmish, but the campaign is being lost all around you. If you're starting to see the hidden terrain in your own conflicts, comment below with your biggest revelation and subscribe to continue mastering the art. If the problem is blindness, then the cure is vision. Sun Tzu's prescription is not a set of tactics, but a radical recalibration of perception, a framework for seeing the world not as a collection of obstacles, but as a dynamic landscape of potential energy waiting to be harnessed. The path to resolution is not about learning to fight better. It is about learning to think in an entirely new dimension. He offers you the ultimate strategic mindset, to be formless like water. What does this mean? It means your strategies must have no fixed, rigid shape, so your opponent can never grasp you or predict you. You flow, you adapt, you fill the crevices in your enemy's plans until you have worn away their very foundation. The core of this framework is the counterintuitive principle of winning before the war. What is of supreme importance in war, Tzu insists, is to attack the enemy's strategy, not his army, not his cities, but his very plan. This is the masterstroke. How do you attack a strategy? You dismantle his alliances before they are formed. You shape his perceptions so his own decisions lead him into your trap. You create a situation so advantageous that victory is not just likely, but inevitable before a single blow is exchanged. In your life, this is the art of preparing the ground. It's not about demanding a raise. It's about making yourself so indispensable, your value so self-evident, that the raise becomes a natural conclusion. Your boss arrives at himself. You haven't fought for it. You have orchestrated it. This is where Sun Tzu introduces his most empowering secret, the concept of the Cheng and the Qi, the orthodox and the unorthodox. The Cheng is your direct, expected force, the thing your opponent is prepared for. The Qi is the indirect, the surprising, the maneuver he cannot anticipate. The master strategist uses the Cheng to engage, to fix the enemy's attention, while the Qi strikes the decisive blow from an unexpected vector. In your negotiations, your direct argument is the Cheng, but the Qi is the unspoken emotional need you identify and address, the overlooked data point you reveal, the alternative option you introduce that reframes the entire discussion. You are not meeting force with force. You are redirecting the entire flow of the conflict onto a battlefield of your own choosing. This path to resolution is a shift from being a warrior to being a sculptor. The warrior sees the enemy as a block to be shattered. The sculptor sees the same block, but understands its grain, its weaknesses, its potential. He applies pressure not with brute force, but with precise, knowing taps, until the block splits cleanly along its own inherent lines. The victory does not come from the sculptor's hammer, but from his profound understanding of the stone. Sun Tzu's prescription empowers you to become the sculptor of your conflicts. You stop trying to break your opponent and start understanding them so deeply that you can guide the situation to a resolution that serves your ends, often without them ever realizing they were being guided at all. The door is now open. The secret is not a stronger arm, but a more perceptive mind. This is just the first move in a much larger campaign. Secure your strategic advantage by subscribing and hitting like to fuel our next video. The ultimate truth of the art of war is not a tactic, but a profound state of being. It is the realization that the highest form of power is not control, but harmony. Sun Tzu's final, most devastating revelation is that the master strategist wins because they have achieved a state of effortless action. or we way, a seamless alignment with the hidden currents of the world. They do not impose their will upon reality. They discern reality's will and flow with it, using its own momentum to achieve their ends. The supreme victory is thus a form of cosmic collaboration. You are not defeating an enemy. You are resolving a dissonance, and in doing so, you restore a natural balance where your position is the most logical, stable, and powerful outcome. This is the paradigm shift that alters your worldview permanently. After turning the final page, you can no longer see conflict as a two-sided game between you and an opponent. You now see it as a single, complex system in which you are a participating element. Your goal ceases to be winning against and becomes shaping the whole. The true object of your strategy is no longer the other, but the system itself, the relationship, the market, the conversation. You manipulate the conditions, the incentives, the perceptions, and the terrain until the outcome you desire emerges not as a conquest, but as an inevitability. The enemy, trapped within their own limited perspective, makes the only move left available to them, the move you have engineered for them all along. This is the essence of knowing yourself and knowing your enemy. It is not merely about assessing strengths and weaknesses, but about understanding the complete psychological and situational field. You must become aware of your own biases, your own pride, the general on the hill, desperate for a glorious charge, and master them. Only then can you see the same forces at work in your opponent and use them. The final truth is that all enduring victory is rooted in self-mastery first. The battle against your own ignorance and arrogance is the war that must be won before all others. So as the mists clear from that imagined valley, the scene is transformed. You are no longer the general facing an army. You are the architect observing a structure whose stresses and strains you now understand completely. You see the path of least resistance, the point of leverage, the opportunity to build rather than break. The book's lasting impact is this quiet, unshakable confidence, the end of struggle and the beginning of strategy. You are left not with a list of techniques, but with a new lens for life itself. A lens through which every challenge, every confrontation, every negotiation is no longer a threat, but a question. And you now hold the silent, profound knowledge of how to listen for the answer the world itself is waiting to give. The path to mastering any art is continuous. Join us on this journey by subscribing, and let us know in the comments which principle resonates most. Understanding these rules is crucial because conflicts are an inevitable part of life. By learning how to navigate them effectively, you can build stronger relationships, improve your communication skills, and even become a better version of yourself. Think about all the relationships in your life: romantic relationships, friendships, family relationships, and how conflicts can either bring you closer together or drive you further apart. The secret rules of conflict are rooted in basic human psychology. Active listening, for instance, is a powerful tool for resolving conflicts. When we truly listen to the other person's perspective, we begin to understand their needs, desires, and fears. This empathy can help us find common ground and work towards a resolution. But there's more to it than just listening. Body language, tone of voice, and even the words we choose can either escalate or de-escalate the conflict. Another key rule is the importance of separating the issue from the person. When we make a personal attack, the other person becomes defensive and the conflict escalates. But when we focus on the issue at hand, we can have a more constructive conversation. And then there's the rule of seeking common ground. Finding something you both agree on can be a powerful way to build bridges and find a resolution. So, what's the most significant insight or rule that can transform how you approach conflict? It's this: most conflicts aren't about winning or losing, but about being heard and understood. When we feel like our perspective is being heard and validated, we're more likely to be open to finding a resolution. This simple yet profound insight can shift the way you approach conflicts and help you build stronger, more meaningful relationships. In conclusion, recognizing and applying these secret rules can make a huge difference in how you navigate conflicts. By understanding the importance of active listening, empathy, and effective communication, you can turn even the most heated disputes into opportunities for growth and connection.